Have here is a tea extraction unit. In other words, we're extracting from our compost, which we saw up there. We're running it through a system where we apply water through it, comes out through a filter bag, so that it actually makes it gives us the opportunity to actually spray or liquid inject or foliar compost tea onto our paddocks in the growing season or at germinating stage. So it just gives us another option. I used to do a lot of brewing with microbes, but I've always found it really awkward that I couldn't either sort of keep the microbes to the same diversity for very long, because they suddenly just ate each other, and you'd look under the microscope a day later and there was only a quarter of what was there when I looked at 6 hours. So that was frustrating for me, but also I couldn't keep it. Once you've fed it and you've got the microbial activity going, you've got to use it. So if a rain event happened or you were sowing or something or other, it was lost and you had to start again. With the extracting, I can extract from the compost all the diversity in there, but it's still not activated. Then when I put it in my mixing tank, when I go to use it, I can then activate it with molasses and fish and all sorts of kelps and all sorts of things to activate it to go into the paddock. So it just gave us a wonderful way of getting a foliar fertility system or a liquid injection system that we could activate when we wanted to use it. Like that, just extracted, probably good for 3 or 4 weeks in cool conditions, easy. As soon as you activate it, it needs to be used within 48 hours because you've actually given the microbes a heap of food. So all the extraction unit is a system of doing it. That's basically it, but these are really efficient. This is a larger one. I know there's numerous ones in the audience here that have these extractors, big and small, and this can do up to probably 18,000 litres a day. So no problem to keep up to a sowing rig or something like that, no problem at all. So just air on, water on, compost, which we saw in that finished row. Compost in. So what we've got, it's now just filling the vessel with water. We've got a float system here that as the water level rises, it'll just automatically switch on. There's a 100 mesh filter bag in here, and it'll just start drawing off through that filter bag the tea liquid. Now as you walk down, you'll probably notice there's a Hardy burn spray sitting up there. I spray the tea and solubilised in there through that this year, just with 100 litres a hectare flat fan nozzles. But we screen it through those irrigation filters down there. They're 50s and 80s, basically. So it's still a sedimentary product, so you've still got to realise that there are things you've got to screen, but it'll definitely go through burn sprays, but you've got to understand your filtering system. So I'm just going to switch that on manually by flicking the switch, but it'll come up and do it anyway, but that's on now. I don't even know whether that tap's on or not, but anyway. So that's now extracting. We're doing the extracting process. I don't know whether John can hold that up and see it going in. So that's as simple as it is to get the extraction system working. It seems to me to be able to, I do it down liquid inject with my air seeder, straight down beside the sowing, the seed and fertiliser, and you probably noticed on those trials that Rhonda showed this morning that the liquid injection, when it's added to something, always gave an increase. And I've found that every time we've used it, be it on pasture, on crops or anything, wherever it's used, you'll get an increase in growth or fertility. It's not the dynamics of a compost. It won't structurally change your soil and do all those things. That's what compost spread blends are for. But actually getting in-crop growth and in-foliar growth, this is wonderful. So I'm actually going to shut it off now. So just water off. I'll let this pump down, otherwise I've got to do a fair bit of cleaning out. So I put a 20 litre bucket of compost in there. Normally to make 1,000 litres you would put 2 or 3 buckets in. And then top it up every 2 or 3,000 litres of mix, top it up with another bucket. So it's just about to switch off now. So it's actually a running system. Once you get it going into a tank like that, you can walk away from it, get your water right, and you can walk away. So that's actually stopped now. So to clean out, pull the dump valve. So that's dumping out the waste. So to clean out, just give it a rinse. And feel free, if anyone would like to have a look in there, feel free. But that's as simple as it is to make compost tea.
What do you do with the waste?
The waste goes straight back to the compost site and straight into a new row. I have had a couple of my employees over the time take the waste and put on veggie patches. You ought to see the veggies because you're actually intensive. You've got a really concentrated system there. So yeah, so it's just something that is another tool in your toolbox, if I could say that, to aid to what you want to do biologically in the paddock, because you can add so many biological stimulants to a tea. You can add, all these things: kelps, molasses, fishes, packs. There's many things you can do. I add a lot of minerals, like when I foliar spray. All these wheat crops were sprayed with a tea in foliar, but I added some molly, I added some mag sulfate, I've solubilized urea and put in there. I've done, coppers, zincs, all sorts of things. You can do it all through that. So this is a catalyst, an expanding catalyst, and it's just another really good way of being able to aid it. Would anyone of the other guys like to make a comment? Hugh or Martin or... All good. So I think it's just something that's really helped us along the way, and I know Roy and Heather have a tea extractor. There's a number of people here that have got extractors, so they've experienced the same thing, I'm sure, that it's a catalyst to do what you want to do with it, and it just aids your composting process. But if you really want to make those dynamic structural changes to soil, you put compost blends on. That's the dynamic change. This is foliar and feeding.